What's up, guys? Welcome to week number 36 of my 2018 training. Back after a brief hiatus, which did have a couple of high points in it, one being the bench work from, I want to say, 2 weeks back here, which I included in this clip. Was able to go up to 325 for a couple singles, and then took some slingshot sets up to 415, all of which were pain-free, thanks to some serratus drills that I found to work on the right side. So I've made some significant headway in my healing process. Not that it was really ever hurt, but in through the shoulder stability and issues with that over the last couple of weeks, thanks to some fairly new exercises and new ways of approaching the problem. So one being some activation drills for the serratus on the right side, the other being this variation right here, which we are going to call the Savage Press going forward. Basically, I came across an article by Blaine Sumner where he suggested cueing your leg drive as if there were no bottom portion of the bench. So what I did is took that a step further and moved the bench so there was no bottom portion of the bench. And it turns out that I have not been properly cueing upper back tightness, I think, ever. Because the position that I was able to get in with this variation was better than I think I've ever been set up on a bench press in my life. And I was able to work up to a really easy and clean single at 365 here, and then one that didn't look quite as good at 375, both of which were pretty much pain-free, and the heaviest two sets that I've taken since around this time last year when I last competed, where I ended up finishing a 419 bench, although it didn't count. My butt came up a little bit, so I finished like a 401. But regardless, this top set at 375 is relatively close to all of that, and I am still about 40 pounds lighter than this time last year when I last touched these weights. So from a technical improvement perspective, this is pretty encouraging because it means that a lot of the issues that I've been having on bench have been due to a technical fault. So I think that that's why this whole issue has taken so long to kind of heal up, is that I've been still kind of basically picking the scab every week when I press with my technique. So expect to see more on the Savage Press in the next couple of weeks. I will be probably making a separate video on how to set it all up and how to make it carry over to your main bench. If you check my Instagram, I did put up a quick 1-minute video on it, but I'll do something a little bit more extensive in the future. That brings us to the max effort lower work from Monday. Took some sets with the Camber bar to a box. I am in briefs in this workout. Worked these up to 450. These felt decently okay, although one of the things that I've been also kind of realizing in my squats and in my pulls, particularly the week after this workout, is my main thing that I need to focus on for my squats and dead is maintaining a neutral pelvis position, and really focusing on dropping the diaphragm down to lock everything into place. You can see on this set here with, I want to say this was 450, I did a fairly decent job of doing that, and then on the last rep I let my pelvis tilt a little bit, and then I tried to take it again for another single, and the same thing happened. And I think when I fail to maintain that pelvis position, I am affecting how the glutes function on the one side, which is why I get that little bit of a hip shift even still. So I'm excited that it's something technical that I can work on, rather than being something that's kind of mysteriously frustrating. So overall, pretty excited about the last few weeks and the opportunity to kind of work on some more things going into the second half of this year. After those Camber bar squats, worked some trap bar deads. I did sets of 5 up to a top set of 650 for 5, which is a definite PR for me, both in volume and for reps at that weight. The trap bar has taught me a lot about that neutral hip position, because as I initiate that pull, it almost feels like I'm slightly rounded over, but I'm not. And I think that's just because I'm so used to anteriorly tilting my hips when I set up on any of my deadlift variations. So I will probably keep the trap bar in as my secondary pull on the next workout. Kind of rewind a little bit, one of the things that I'm changing going forward is I will only be taking a max on one of the two lifts, and the other one will end up getting some rep work in this anywhere from 75 to 85% range. So what that'll let me do, hopefully, is still build a little bit of volume in what is going to be kind of an off-season period for me. Not that I really had an on-season, but that's neither here nor there. So, but basically, let me get some volume in the variations that are going to be good builder exercises for me. And over the course of a training month, I will get 2 heavy squats in, 1 heavy deadlift, and then the 4th week will be a probably concentric only good morning variation. So my goal with that is to see if pulling heavy a little bit less frequently ends up making my deadlift go up, and then by doing some volume work in those variations, that should also help provide more weeks of building my pull, while also starting to mitigate some of the squatting, since that has been the more problematic of the 2 lifts for me. So we will see. It is just a guess at this point, but I have pretty good feelings about that going forward. So for the speed work, this next 3-week wave, I'm going to be using all straight weight. So I'm using an elevated floor press with the axle bar. That was 165, did 15 sets of 3. On the speed lower day, I'm going to be using straight weight as well on the safety bar box squats, just because I need to start increasing a little bit some of the stress on the hips in my raw work, and just kind of reacclimating to doing a little bit of heavier work on that dynamic day. So that will just be for this next 3 weeks or so. After that, I will go back to using some form of accommodating resistance, and then at that point, hopefully everything is feeling good enough for me to start throwing in some raw work on the max effort days as well. So we will see. For the safety bar box squats, these all moved really well. I did a pretty good job of keeping my weight distributed evenly through the hips. There are some sets where you see I do tilt a little bit to the side, but those are the ones where I did not do as good of a job of maintaining that pelvis position. So that is something that will continue to work on. Expect to see the weight on these wave up each week for the next 3. So this first week was 10 doubles at 240. That will jump up to 10 doubles at 260, and then probably 280 by week 3 before I start the wave over with a different variation. So these all felt really good. Keeping in the theme of working on things that I suck at, and also adding a little bit of extra training stimulus for my hips. All of my speed work for the next 3 weeks will be done sumo. I may keep that going forward. But this is going to be a good opportunity for me to start working in some raw sumo, since up until this point, everything that I've done in this stance has been done with the briefs on. My first 5 or so of 10 sets kind of were shitty and felt terrible, and by the time that I got to around these sets here, I figured out again how to get down to the bar with a neutral pelvis position, which then makes sumo not feel terrible and painful like it usually does, and also it's a lot easier that way. So I will continue to work on that. I think between doing the sumo speed pulls and then just a little bit heavier box work, that should help to retrain some of those technical faults that I've been having. So that's kind of the goal going forward. I've got some definite work and things to clean up on pretty much all 3 lifts. Part of it's leverages, part of it's I need to relearn a slightly different technique on all of them that will help keep me healthier, and if that's the case and I come out of the last few years with some of those improvements and I know how to not make those same mistakes again, cool. I'm perfectly happy with that. So that's pretty much it on the speed day here. After the sumo pulls, ended up hitting 5x5 on good mornings with the safety bar. I superset each of those with hanging leg lifts, and then followed these with some kettlebell swings and some leg press and other things. So all that's listed in the workout description that happened before these clips if you're interested. I also kept I keep all of that in the description box below. So if you want to actually see which exercises I'm using for my accessories and things like that, I have them all listed. So that is it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like it and subscribe to my channel. And be sure to check out savagegym.com for any updates on the gym and on the upcoming Deadlifts for Dornbecker event we are hosting December 8th here in Oregon. That's it. Take care, and I'll talk to you next week.